Hey, there's your Wisconsin wine guy, and we're back again with another wine review. And you can see there, we're looking at Castle Rock Blue Label. What? Castle Rock Blue Label? So, for those who are new here, I'm your Wisconsin wine guy again. Hello, welcome to the channel if you haven't been here before. And I do review wines I like to call everyday drinking wines. These are wines you can find where you shop for wine, grocery store, liquor store, and some wine shop shelves. I make a selection, taste these wines, and give you my opinion what I think about these wines, whether it be a good buy for you or not a good buy, but most importantly, I encourage you to try them, and let the rest of us know what you think. So I do the grading system, a very simple rating system, a thumb rating system, thumbs up. Recommend that wine. I think it's a pretty solid wine for everyday drinking. Can't go wrong every time you buy it. Now, every vintage may stand on its own. Some may be better than others. You know, I try to do multiple vintages on certain brands if possible, but again, I think it'd be a good everyday drinking wine. 3/4 says, you know what? I would bring this to a party, drink it at a party if it was there. If I was throwing a party myself and I was trying to be budget friendly, I would have this wine at my party. Okay? Thumbs down. Well, I should say halfway. Halfway says that something about that wine just did not resonate with my palate. Does not make it a bad wine, but it just didn't work for me, and I'll tell you why. But I encourage you to taste it to let me know and the rest of us know what you thought about the wine. Thumbs down. That's an easy one, right? Thumbs down is always an easy one. Okay, so now, every now and then there's the double thumbs up. The double thumbs up wine is, I like to call it an exceptional wine, you know, especially in the price points. And that says that, you know what, this is a wine that I feel that you can sit on and age, you know, buy maybe 3 or 4 bottles, and every 3 years or 5 years, if you're so blessed, open a bottle and see what it tastes like, right? And that includes screw caps. Okay, don't think a screw cap bottle of wine can't age. Okay, so that includes screw caps. Hear it from me. Let me say it again. Hear it from me. That includes screw caps. All right, here we go. We're going to be doing the Castle Rock Reserve is what it's called, 2020. Now, you have the regular Castle Rock, which would be that tan label, and then they have the Castle Rock Black label. You know, I haven't had the black labels yet. You know, I've been meaning to try to get the black label and try the same varietal from both Washington and the California vineyards, right? But then you have the tan label. I believe I did a review on the tan label. You can type in the search, you know, on my channel for Castle Rock, and you see what I thought about the Castle Rock wines. You know, but the blue label is going to be new one for me. Now, I'm going to tell you, I was a Castle Rock fan. You know, in the early days, we're talking about the 80s. I was a Castle Rock fan. That was one of my go-to wines, Castle Rock, and it was the Cabernet that I would drink for the Castle Rock. You know, and then I would drink the Merlot. So first was Cabernet, second was Merlot. I had other brands that I enjoyed the Merlot better in, you know, going through the 80s. But Castle Rock was a wine that I did enjoy back in the day. And as I always said, you know, it's always good to go back and revisit some of those brands that you drink, you know, when you first entered your journey into wine drinking, and see what's happening with them now. Okay? So the Castle Rock Reserve Cabernet is coming in, 2020 is the vintage, coming in at 14.5% alcohol. This you can find at $9.99 or $13 or $14.99. Now, what's unique about this? Most of the Castle Rock wines will say, you know, California. You know, grapes are sourced from the California appellation. I mean, they can come from anywhere in California. California itself is an appellation, right? But this is sourced from out of Sonoma County in the Alexander Valley, the grapes. This is going to be primarily Cabernet Sauvignon, 95%. We have a little bit of what I got here. A little bit of Petite, Verdot, and Cabernet Franc. So it goes Cabernet Sauvignon 95%, Petite Verdot 3%, and the Cabernet Franc 2%. Okay? So Cabernet, Petite, Cabernet. So let's give it a taste. Screw cap again. Again, I've been like on fire with screw caps as of late with these wine reviews. You know, because I guess I'm trying to say to you is that don't grade a wine if it's not a cork. Okay, there's been plenty of tests test and taste-offs done with cork versus I can smell that, with cork versus screw caps, with different price points, maybe even like $700 or $1,000 in a screw cap, and tasted those wines side by side in blind tasting, and the screw cap oftentimes would beat out the natural cork. Okay, so don't be turned off by a screw cap. That's my point. Give it a shot. Now, as I said earlier, when I opened this wine out of the screw cap, I could actually smell the wine from there. You look at that color. Now, we're a little bit at Petite Verdot, which Petite Verdot adds depth, really good depth of color, to the wine. Cabernet Franc, adds a little bit more of those fruity qualities. Cabernet, well, we all know Cabernet, that adds that power, okay? So, we have the Petite Verdot here, Petite Verdot, Cabernet, Cabernet Franc, or, I should say, are part of those original grapes from the left bank in Bordeaux. Okay, so it's kind of like a little Bordeaux, a mini type of Bordeaux, but it can't be a Bordeaux because I'm from Bordeaux. But you get the point. Those are the grapes from the left bank Bordeaux where Cabernet reigns supreme. Now, on the nose, that color, garnet to deep ruby purple. All right, coming in that color. So it has a nice color. That Verdot puts nice color in here. On the nose. On the nose is spice, like clove, cinnamon, cedar, and dark berries. Okay? All those elements, encompassing the different grapes, but definitely noting the Cabernet grape itself. Right, nice. But what I always say, the proof is always in the taste. This is almost like getting me high because it smells so good. Oh, wow, there's a little bit of caramelization there. This is 27 months in both a little bit of French and American oak. 27 months, right? Wow. As you smell, it becomes more, but it never loses the fruit. But all of a sudden, you get those hints of what's in the background. So that's pretty nice. Okay, let's get out of that. Let's get out of the nose. I'm getting high on the nose. Let's taste. Two-step process. What's the first step? Acidity, no play. Second taste is when we actually rate that wine. Here we go. Smooth tannins, nice acidity, good structure, good acidity, very lively. I like that. I like that a lot. That first sip, with the tannins and the acidity, I like that a lot. Now, $13.99. I said $14.99. Or you can find it on sale at $9.99. Now for the taste. Wow, that taste. 14% alcohol, nada. Almost silky. And there's the plum. I don't know if you look at some of my videos, you hear my plum story about Cabernet. But there's definitely the plum there. But you get that pepperiness. That's probably coming from the Petite Verdot. But you get that subtle fruit. Probably coming from the Cabernet Franc. Subtle licorice. Subtle toasty oak. Again, medium to firm tannins, but not overpowering, but silky to drink. Very nice. I have a confession. I always, in a lot of my red wines especially, I always open the wine to, when I first open it and have a taste, give it time to air, relax a little bit, and then be able to taste a little bit later. Again, dropping it down below the neck to the shoulders. Give it time to just aerate without having to utilize a aerator or utilizing a decanter. So because the wine can be tight. And here's a little lesson for you. When you open it, you'll get sulfites and things like that. You know how long the wine's been in the bottle. So here's a little test for you. Open the wine, pull the cork. Make sure you're looking down inside the hole. See if you get some smoke. Even the corkscrew. See if you get some smoke. And when that happens, you definitely need to let that wine air a little bit, because those sulfites are in it. Sometimes you do an injection of sulfites to preserve the wine, and that's keeping the wine just like nitrogen. When you have those dispensers, that's keeping the wine fresh. Keeping the bad bacteria out. But give that wine a chance to breathe, to aerate, to get rid of all of that, and you'll get what I have right here. Okay, that was a long way around, but you get the point. Now, let's give it a taste again. I gotta say, compared to the tan label of Castle Rock, which I recall I didn't really enjoy, this is not bad. Nicely balanced. The fruit is nice. The balance is nice. The taste is nice. Get a little bit of tobacco here, subtle. Not overwhelming, but subtle. $13.99. Is that gonna be some people like Cabernets are like dense with fruit and harsh with tannins. As I get older, I like more of that, smooth silkiness, when it comes to Cabernet. And this has some blends to it as well, but I like that smooth silkiness. And I think this hits all the marks for me. I'm enjoying it. I'm digging it. What was that vintage? 2020? So it's already 5 years old. I don't know when it was released, but it's already 5 years old. It may not go any longer. I don't know. It has it makes me think it can go a little bit longer. I don't know. There's a subtle little bit of bitterness on the finish, on the side of the tongue. On that last sip that I just took, I picked up some of that. Oh, definitely pick up when it's just a little bit of wine in the glass, you definitely pick up the tobacco nose. Oh, that smokiness, you definitely pick up that. So, your Wisconsin wine guy is going to give this a thumbs up. Okay? And I give it a thumbs up. Not a 2 thumbs, but I give it a thumbs up. You know what? I'm going to give this a thumb and a half. Thumb and a half. And I'll tell you why. It's not worthy of a thumbs up. I think the components and what it has and the thumb and a half, that it had a lot of potential. I wish I'd have had this in 2021. Okay? And be able to taste it now. So I wonder what it tasted like when it was young. Okay? Versus now. But at a thumb and a half, I think it's tasting really good right now. Right now. I don't know if it could go any further because, the fruit qualities are there. And it may come out more with food, but I like the acidity that's there. I like the subtle complexity that's there. But a thumb and a half, I think, is pretty good. Give it a try. The Blue Label Castle Rock from Alexander Valley, Reserve. Give it a try. Let me know what you think about it. $13.99. Retail you may in your area, part of the world, you may find it at 14 or 15 or 16.99. But give it a try, and I would like to know what you think about it. It's your Wisconsin wine guy saying, as always, let your palate be the guide when selecting your wines. I'm going to enjoy this. I'll see you next time. Ciao. Oh, that's not a lot of wine.